Hi everyone, this is Sky Norskin from sportsblog.com, the author of the blog The Skylights. And here is my preview for this week's Week 3 Game of the Week, Texas A&M and Alabama. Now, obviously last year, A&M had a very shocking win against Alabama, 29-24, and ever since the end of the season, Nick Saban has been playing the end result of that game on the TVs all around the Alabama locker rooms. So it's no secret that they're out for revenge, despite the fact they deny it. So this is definitely a very intriguing matchup. Two very different styles of offense, two very different styles of defense. So it should make for a very intriguing game. I just want to give you some defensive and offensive statistics here, maybe give you an idea of what these teams' strengths and weaknesses are. Although it really is no secret that A&M has a great offense, Alabama has a great defense, and the other two units are somewhat pedestrian. A&M has been pretty terrible at defending the rush, but let me give you the statistics anyway. So the leaders for both teams, Johnny Manziel is your leader in passing, obviously, with a 70% completion rate and 520 yards with 6 touchdowns and an interception. Ben Molina leads the Aggies in rushing with 21 carries, 150 yards, a 7.1 average per carry, and 2 touchdowns. And in the receiving department, the Aggies are led by Mike Evans with 13 receptions, 239 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And as for the Crimson Tide on offense, A.J. McCarron, obviously your leader in passing, 10 for 23, 110 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. T.J. Yeldon is your rushing leader with 17 attempts for 75 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, and a touchdown. Christian Jones is your receiving leader for the Crimson Tide. He has 2 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. Now, I'm going to give you some team ranks. For total offense, Alabama averages 206 yards a game. Obviously, they only played one game, but that ranks 124th in all of college football. A&M averages 600 yards per game. That's 5th in college football. Passing, Alabama averages 110 yards a game. It's 118th in college football right now. A&M averages 392, which is 6th in the NCAA right now. Rushing, Alabama has 96 yards a game, which is 108th. A&M has 208 yards a game, which is 43rd. Points-wise, Alabama is averaging 35 points a game, it's 47th in the NCAA. And A&M is averaging 58.5, which is 4th. Defensively, however, the statistics really change. Alabama is 9th in the country in total defense with 212 yards allowed per game. A&M is 92nd with 449.5 yards allowed a game. Scoring defense, A&M is 84th, allowing 29.5 points per game. Alabama is averaging 10 points allowed a game, which is 15th. Rushing defense, Alabama is 64th with 153 yards allowed a game. A&M is 115th with 273 yards per game. Passing defense, Alabama ranks 1st, allowing just 59 yards a game. A&M is averaging 177 yards per game, which ranks 37th in passing defense. So, my keys to the game, obviously for the Aggies, they got to establish the tempo early on. That's what they do well is they get that NASCAR speed offense going. They get on the field fast. They get off the field fast. They wear down the defense. I mean, it's a track meet with the Aggies, and that's what they're good at doing. They've got to jump out to an early lead in this game because Alabama is going to find a way to catch up with the speed of that offense. They did last year. They're probably going to do it again this year. Um, secondly, uh, secondly, they got to make some critical stops in defense. Alabama is a slow, methodical team, but they do get the job done, and they can score points if they have a run established. And that seems like a very likely scenario considering A&M, as I said, allowed 273 yards per game on the ground through these first two games against not against low quality running backs, not most certainly not the quality of TJ Yeldon. They have to defend the run better. I don't know how else I can say that. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but they have to. They have to at least slow it down for a little bit, give their offense some time to develop a cushion so Alabama's playing catch up the whole time, and that's going to be very difficult for them against a very good A&M offense. And get the home crowd going. Kyle Field, I've been there many times. I've been to many Aggie games. My dad's an Aggie grad. I've been down there many, many times, I've said. It's one of the loudest stadiums in the country when everyone is on their feet, roaring and waving the 12th man towel. It really is a special place to play football, and they've got to get that crowd going, get that offensive line who doesn't have a lot of chemistry together, make them feel the pressure, disrupt the count, the snap count, and force them into some false starts. You've got to get your crowd going. That's one of your biggest advantages if you're A&M, is that you're playing at home instead of in Tuscaloosa this time. And create some turnovers. Also, Alabama is a very efficient, like I said, very methodical. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They play not to make a lot of mistakes. They're not a very aggressive team. They're not going to throw the ball, 60 times a game. They're just not going to do that. That's not who they are. They're a play action pass, heavy run team who relies on their run to set up their pass. And establishing the passing game, and making them play catch up is going to make life a whole lot easier in this game for A&M. And also getting turnovers is going to make it easier. Get some fumbles. Force A.J. McCarron into some bad decisions. Get some pressure on him. Bring blitz packages. Blitz the corner every once in a while. You've got guys who are quick on this defense who can get to the quarterback, and you've got to do it. You just got to do it. There's no other way around it. So that's really the keys for A&M. Establish the fast tempo, build a cushion, and make some critical stops, because they're not going to hold Alabama to under 20 points is what I'm thinking. So for Alabama, control the time of possession. Alabama has got to control the ball. They got to keep that A&M offense off the field as much as they can, because I will be absolutely shocked if Alabama, as good as their defense is able to hold A&M to less than 20 points. A&M has a very fast-paced, very efficient, good, speedy, talented offense that's going to score some points. And it's likely going to score more than 20, maybe even more than 30. So they have to keep them off the field as much as possible. Alabama needs to do their thing, their slow, methodical, boring thing, which is heavy run, play action pass. Let their running backs do the work, and then catch A&M creeping up with those safeties in the box and lay one over the top to one of your speedy wide receivers, especially Amari Cooper, maybe Christian Jones. And that's how you need to get it done. if you're Alabama offensively. Defensively, they need to contain Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel, it's no secret what he can do with his legs. He's very deadly. Alabama found that out the hard way last year in a loss when Manziel had the game of his life. But Manziel, he's played pretty well from the pocket this year. We haven't seen him have a really big breakout game with some really outstanding runs yet. So it should be interesting to see how Alabama intends to approach containing him. Because the truth is, if Alabama, cannot stop that passing attack, they're going to have to bring more guys back into coverage, and that's just the perfect time for Johnny Manziel to find space and to make something happen with his legs. And that's really what hurt Alabama last year. So I'm really going to be interested to see how they approach containing him, whether they put a spy in at linebacker, whether they have, a safety come up into the box and watch him, whether they just try to play man to man and see what happens. Because Alabama does have a very good secondary. There's no doubt about that. As I said, they held Virginia Tech to only 59 yards in the first game. But again, you're playing Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M, not Virginia Tech and Logan Thomas. It's a whole different ball game. You got to quiet the crowd also. I think with a young offensive line, an inexperienced offensive line at that, you've got to take the pressure off them early and quiet the crowd with some big plays, with some big touchdown drives. And also, you got to wear that defense down. The big thing that they've had problems with is the run. And if you can wear them down to the point where A&M's going to bring more guys in the box, it just plays right into the Alabama scheme, which is play action pass over the top. Amari Cooper, Christian Jones, as I said, those guys are big-time home run threats. And if you establish the run and get the play action pass going, A&M, quite frankly, is going to have a very difficult time stopping it, and they're going to have a very hard time winning this game without the crowd energized and still in the game. Pressure Manziel also. I know, if you pressure him, sometimes you're going to lose. That's just going to happen. He's a mobile quarterback, but more often than not, if you get pressure on a quarterback, he will make mistakes. If you get enough pressure on him, he will always make mistakes. There's just no way to avoid it. So get pressure on Manziel. Make him create something with his legs. Make him throw into coverage, disguise different types of coverages. They've got the talent to do it. It's not like they can't. So that's what the game plan has got to be defensively for Alabama. Stopping the run. Ben Molina and company and Trey Carson, they're a pretty good two-headed monster, but if Johnny Manziel gets involved, it really goes downhill from there for Alabama. And those are the keys to the game for the Crimson Tide. So, my prediction for this game, I like A&M 34-24. I think A&M just has too much on offense, and I think with the three players coming back, it will make the needed difference in order to make enough critical stops in this game. Alabama's offensive line is not the same offensive line. They're missing DJ Fluker, Chance Warmack, Barrett Jones. That's key leadership they need in a huge road game with huge national title implications. Honestly, I think the winner of this game goes to the national championship. I'll be surprised if that doesn't happen. No matter where A&M is in the standings, if they win this game, they're going to the title game if they can run the table from there on out. With the way this BCS system's set up, SEC teams are always going to jump over the ACC and Pac-12, Big Ten, whatever conference is in front of them. So, whoever wins this game, like I said, has a huge chance to go to the national title game. and I think probably will. Now, um, obviously, the crowd as well, I think, will get to that Alabama offensive line, make them make some mistakes. I think A&M will be able to get pressure on A.J. McCarron. You got to remember uh, the Crimson Tide's offensive line allowed 4 sacks to the Virginia Tech Hokies defense. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game, like I said. This is the game of the year in the regular season. Maybe it won't be quite the quality of game we're expecting, but most certainly the implications and the effect it's going to have on this season don't aren't absent from this game. No matter what the result is, the implications are going to be huge. Huge. The effects on the season are going to be enormous. So, with that, that's my pick for the game of the week. Now I'm going to give you my other picks for the top 25. Start with number 2, Oregon hosting Tennessee in Eugene at Autzen Stadium. I like the Ducks in the next game. Number 4, Ohio State travels to Berkeley. I think Ohio State could have a little problems at the beginning. It's a long flight all the way out to Berkeley, but they shouldn't have too many problems in the end. They should be able to win this game, and they should be able to win it decisively. I like the Buckeyes in this game. Number 5, Stanford goes to Army. I don't think I even need to really elaborate on this one at all. Stanford should win this game. Louisville at Kentucky. It's a rivalry game, so I guess there could be some interesting aspects to talk about here, but not really. I think the Cardinals will win this game. They should win it decisively. The Cardinals have way too much on offense. And then you have Nevada at FSU. FSU should have not much issue taking care of the Wolfpack in this game. Jameis Winston was just spectacular in his season debut against Pittsburgh. Just an unbelievable game for that kid. He's one of the more talented quarterbacks in the country. A future Heisman candidate for sure. Expect the Seminoles to take care of business. Lamar at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's going to win that game. I don't really need to elaborate on that one either. Now, this game, under the radar a bit, I think. Vanderbilt at South Carolina. I think this is a very interesting game. I think the Gamecocks are a very good team. Connor Shaw is a great leader. Mike Davis is a really good running back. He's got incredible speed. He's able to turn on the jets and just take it down the field. We saw that last week against Georgia, what he can do. But Vanderbilt's got a lot of firepower offensively, and I think this is just a very tricky trap sort of feeling game for South Carolina. I'm going to go with the Commodores. I'm going to say Vanderbilt pulls the upset. I'm going to say they do it. And South Carolina can only, look down from there. They've got a, tough road ahead. And certainly it doesn't get easier with the fact that if they lose this game. So I'm going to pick the Commodores to win, to make a huge upset. One of the biggest upsets yet of the college football season. And next up, you got OU hosting Tulsa. Sooners should win this game. I'd be surprised if they didn't. This really isn't a big game. Sooners win. UCLA at Nebraska. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game because it's sort of Brett Hundley's the quarterback for UCLA. It's a big national game for him. It's a big chance for him to prove to the nation, what he's got, and that his second spot on McShay and Kiper's big board, if I'm not mistaken. He's second out of the quarterbacks on McShay and Kiper's big boards on ESPN. And he has a chance to prove that he deserves that spot, that he is a very talented quarterback, and he is, but Jonathan Franklin's not here this year. So it should be interesting to see. I'm going to go with the Bruins. I think the Pac-12 has a very good conference this year. I think they're deeper than the Big Ten, and I like the Bruins in this game. Western Michigan at Northwestern. Northwestern should win that game. Washington and Illinois, I like the Huskies. Like I said, they're really my dark horse team this year. Them along with Baylor are my two big dark horse teams this year. I really like the Huskies. I really like what Keith Price can do, and I really like what Bishop Sankey can do and what he showed in that first game against Boise State, running for 162 yards. Austin Seferian-Jenkins is coming off a suspension. He's back. He's considered by many the best tight end in the country, so having him should be an added plus. Huskies should get it done. And now, Wisconsin at Arizona State. I like the Sun Devils. I think the home field advantage and the fact we haven't seen Wisconsin play a very good team yet, but this should be a very intriguing game nonetheless. But I like the Sun Devils in this one. Notre Dame at Purdue. Notre Dame should win this game. Tommy Rees and company played pretty well for the most part last week against Michigan in a tough loss at the Big House in the last game between those two teams for a long time. They should win this game. And finally, Ole Miss at Texas. The Horns have got to win this game. I can't stress that enough to really save their season to me. I think they have to win this game just from an emotional standpoint. This team is in utter disarray right now after that smacking they took at BYU against, Taysom Hill and that rushing attack. But I like the Rebels. I think they're young, they're talented, they're very good. They got a good quarterback in Wallace, and I like them to go in to Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium and defeat the Longhorns and add another and just continue the countdown to the end of Mack Brown's coaching career at Texas. And to reiterate, game of the week pick, A&M against Alabama. I like the Aggies at Kyle Field. So that's been your game of the week preview and predictions, and your week 3 predictions for this week in college football. I'm Sky Norris with the Skylights on sportsblog.com. I hope you enjoyed this post. Feel again at the end of the post, I said that I wanted you the readers, to comment and tell me who you think is going to win, A&M and Alabama, A&M or the Crimson Tide. Be sure to comment, leave your game pick, subscribe, and thank you guys again for reading. Really appreciate it. Again, this is Sky Norris for the Skylights on sportsblog.com, and I thank you for watching.